Trenton, Rhodes, NCDM. America is responsible for one of the great ironies of our age. Our country has one of the world's largest population of the homeless, with over 6 million men, women, and children living on our streets, hungry and in need. And yet, at the same time, America is the #1 waster of food on the entire planet, leaving enough food uneaten every year to fill over 730 football stadiums full of it. This food, the majority of this food, ends up in landfills, where during this process of decomposition, it creates methane gas, a greenhouse gas 10 times more potent to our environment than CO2. My two-part proposal seeks to cut down on this amount of waste by putting this food into the hands of those who need it, while cutting down and reducing the greenhouse effects. My idea is one of environmental progress and humanitarian relief. The first part of my proposal has to do with supermarkets, who for years have simply thrown away their food in inventory when it reaches its sell-by date or expiration date, regardless of the countless studies and surveys that prove that food is not dangerous or inedible for weeks after these dates. Rather than these supermarkets being allowed to simply throw away their food, my proposal mandates that they must now give this food away to local food banks and charities, splitting the cost of transportation 50-50. One of the arguments that was brought up in earlier rounds when debating this bill was what would happen if the food banks proposal. What would happen if these food banks would not be able to take all of this food, or if they could not support it? This proposal is highly favorable to these food banks. It is their choice what they want to take and what they cannot take. These food banks and charities already have transportation systems set up in place to move this food, and there are all experts already in determining whether the food is safe to eat or not. The second part of my proposal has to do with large fast food chains, specifically those that make over $2 billion annually, or roughly the top 15 largest in America. Many of these chains have waste levels of up to 15% throughout their processes of manufacturing, from the time that the animals are raised to the time that the food is served. This proposal will cause them to have to cut down this rate of waste to 2.5% by 2017, or else we'll be fined $1 million a month. I yield my time to my summation speech.
This proposal opens up supermarkets to liability in the event that someone gets food poisoning or sick or some sort of illness from the food that's donated?
No, because in place in California, and I'm not sure if it is in other states, but I know that we have it here, food banks, there's something called the Samaritan Law, where if food banks try and give away their food for a good cause, they are not held liable.
How can we be sure that the people at these food banks are, as you say, experts on when food expires and if it's safe to eat? Is there like a training program?
In creating this proposal, I talked to multiple people who work and volunteer at these food banks, and yes, the majority of these food banks, that is their business, so they know how to determine whether or not it's safe or not.
Is the speaker aware that when food is dumped in food dumps, most of the methane gas that is collected is used for energy?
I was not aware. I know that many landfills that are completely underground build up there, and then when that is released, it all releases at once, and that has caused problems in the past.
Is the speaker aware that the vast majority of food banks are not allowed to accept expired food due to the consumer belief that it's not good?
I was not.
Will the speaker yield to a two-part question?
Yes.
Would the speaker please provide the sources for your statistics?
Okay, one, go to YouTube, search John Oliver Food Waste. It's a 16-minute video. He's very informative and funny. I highly recommend that video. Also, if you search food waste in America, the first link is a very reliable magazine. There's a picture of a strawberry.
My second question is, are the organizations that you talked to previously, are they based only in California or around the entire United States?
These ones were only in California. And that also reminds me of another point that someone brought up earlier that said, well, what about in Wyoming or places such as where maybe they don't have food banks close by? Wyoming is an example. They have 23 counties in that state and 36 food bank organizations. So it's not a problem.
I'm discussing your fine on fast food chains that make over $2 billion. A fine of only $1 million a month is 0.05% of their income. What keeps fast food companies from disregarding this proposal and just paying the fine? That's literally nothing for them.
It is small, but if other large-scale fast food chains were to start cutting down their waste, they would follow because they are such gigantic corporations that everyone watches them closely and would not go to those chains if they knew that they were still wasting their food.
How would this author define supermarket?
Supermarket, I'm sure that there is a legal
Sorry, the
definition.
time for questions is now not.